Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Good Book Hunting, a feature where 4 Westfield librarians use 4 separate resources to find you around 20-ish books or authors based on the books that you are requesting the most. Because there is nothing like being person 402 on a list, waiting and waiting and waiting for that new release and needing something to read in the meantime. Also, many of these books are often by authors that you may have loved in the past, and this will show you how to find books like those authors, like their new titles, or just give you the tools to find your next read on your own. So today, Olivia will be showing you how to use the catalog. That's the one you might be more familiar with if you search through our website. And while we have done this a couple of times, the catalog can be really complicated. And we as librarians know the little buttons to click to maybe get you a little bit closer to what you're looking for. The book that we are working with today will be Kristin Hannah's new release, The Four Winds. Kristin Hannah is the best-selling author of The Nightingale, Firefly Lane, The Great Alone. And this is a powerful American epic about love and heroism and hope set during the Great Depression, a time when the country was in crisis and at war with itself, when millions were out of work and even the land seemed to have turned against them. So this is Texas in 1921, going all the way through to the start of World War II. So it's a family saga. It's about America, the American dream. So it's a little bit historical fiction, a little bit literary fiction, and sounds really good. So I will be using the CW Mars Overdrive catalog. This is where you go for ebooks and e-audiobooks. The recommendations from this are usually poor, but always hilarious. Erica will be using NoveList, and Anne will be using a new resource called Taste Dive. If you are curious how any of these resources work, there already are or will be videos where we also share our screens. But for this one, Olivia, take us away.
Okay, so like Gretchen said, I will be using the CWR's catalog. Helps if I can type. And I'm just going to the homepage for cwmars.org, which is all of the libraries in Western and Central Massachusetts, which you can get books from. And I'm just going to start by searching Four Winds, and we'll see what we get back. All right, and I'm going to use the book. Those tend to have better subject headings and genre tags than the audiobooks or sometimes the large print. As you can see, there are over 1,300 current holds on this novel. So as you scroll down, you'll see they have the subject headings, genre tags. The genre tags don't look terribly specific. So I think I'm going to try a subject heading. And based off of the summary that Gretchen gave, I'm going to go with the American Dream 20th Century Fiction subject tag. So I'm just going to click on it and it'll refresh the page. And again, we are searching all of the CW Mars libraries. So we only got 18 results. I'm just going to say, let's just search for the Westfield Athenaeum. That way we can see what we have here. Maybe you'll be able to get something today or sooner at least. So there are 9. So we'll go with that as long as they're not all ebooks. And you can also exclude and then also limit to available. So we'll do that as well. And refresh, there are only 3. Actually, we'll just search all libraries for this one. Go back and we'll do the same, limit to available and exclude electronic resources. That way we'll get something that you can place a hold on and hopefully get within a reasonable amount of time. So we have some doubles, but we'll start with Métis Beach by Claudine, or Viennas. I just butchered that, but originally published in French under the title Métis Beach. And there is no summary, so I do not know what this is about. One can guess that there will be maybe some traveling to America to pursue the American dream. Per the subject headings, we have American Dream, screenwriters, so Hollywood, something with California. Next, we have Live by Night by Dennis Lehane. Scroll down. In 1926, during the Prohibition, Joe Coughlin defies his strict law and order upbringing by climbing a ladder of organized crime that takes him from Boston to Cuba, where he encounters a dangerous cast of characters who are all fighting for their piece of the American dream. So not set in the country, but we didn't search for that. So it is a little bit urban, the same pursuit of the American dream. And we'll skip the large print, but we will skip the audiobook and the Spanish, and we'll go to In His Father's Footsteps, because it is a duplicate, but we'll do the book version again because it tends to have a better record. When U.S. Army troops occupied Germany, friends Jacob and Emmanuel are saved from the terrible fate of so many in the camps. With the help of sponsors, they make their way to New York. So again, coming to America, pursuing their American dream. These will all be set in the 20th century because that was part of our tag. Okay, and we'll skip Live by Night. We already did that. The Four Winds, In His Father's Footsteps. Let's hope we get a different one. And last one, The Nutcracker in Harlem. Looks like a children's book. Still fun. All right. In Harlem in the 1920s, in the middle of a Christmas party, Marie receives a nutcracker from her Uncle Cab, which leads to a marvelous dream in this resetting of E.T.A. Hoffman's familiar tale. It's for ages 4 to 8. I'm going to guess that it is a picture book and not a chapter book. But again, I guess there's a little bit of the American dream, or maybe it popped up because it is about a dream. I'm not 100% sure. So those were our selections. They were okay, but it could just be because of the subject tag that I chose. As you saw, there were a lot to pick from, so you can always go through and pick the one that you like the most. Now we're going to check back in with everyone else.
So if you're already using the catalog, you might just, find the book that you're looking for and just see that top part of the information that kind of showed up on Olivia's screen when she first brought them up. So do scroll down, check out those subject tags, the genre tags, because they can really help you click around in a really, finite way. Yes, that result didn't bring back a lot of books, but that's also kind of more helpful because then you don't have to pick from hundreds of books. You can just say, all right, here's these 12. Let me get rid of the electronic ones, stuff that's not available. And you're much closer to actually being able to find a book to read today. So I am going to use executive privilege and say that I'm going to do the suggestions from C.W. Marr's Overdrive because I'm fascinated. So this time around, I actually got, again, a book that appeared when we've used this, I believe, for In the Full Light of the Sun, which was quite interesting. That was a Claire Clark book we did a couple of weeks ago. And the first one that came up was Paris, the novel by Edward Rutherfurd. This is a dazzling, epic portrait of the city of light in the 1920s all the way through the end of the 1960s. So definitely no American dream here since we're in Paris, but I find it fascinating that this novel came up again. It also gave me The Light Between Oceans by M.L. Stedman. This was very popular a few years ago and also made into a movie with Michael Fassbender and Alicia Vikander. After 4 harrowing years on the Western Front, Tom Sherborne returns to Australia and takes a job as a lighthouse keeper. on an isolated island with his wife. So once again, we are nowhere near America. So it's a good thing that Olivia clicked on the American dream, but it is a story of family and loss and hardship and all that kind of stuff. Book 3 is Travel Photography in a Day for Dummies. Take better travel shots on your next vacation with this terrific 100-page ebook. I don't know. I don't know what this is doing here. The 4th is Intrepid Aviators, the true story of the USS Intrepid's Torpedo Squadron 18 and its epic clash with the super battleship Musashi by Gregory Fletcher. So this is nonfiction of a battle off the Philippine Islands in October of 1944 between 6 young American torpedo bomber pilots off the aircraft carrier Intrepid and their battle with the super battleship Musashi from the Imperial Japanese Navy. So if you're interested in nonfiction about World War II. And then the final book is The Garden of Evening Mists by Tuan. This is the winner of the Man Asian Literary Prize, an elegant and haunting novel of war, art, and memory. This is set in Malaya in 1951. The main character is the lone survivor of a brutal Japanese wartime camp who seeks solace among the jungle-fringed tea plantations of Cameron Highlands. That one might be of interest, but again, bizarrely, very few of these are actually set in America. So Olivia and I have just walked up to the same fork in a road and jumped off in 2 separate directions. So a little bit of something for everybody. And why don't you tell us what adventure Taste Dive gave you?
Absolutely. Same issue that we've had with Taste Dive before, in that the newest books that authors have written are not there. So I followed one of my previous paths and looking for authors that are recommended. And again, Taste Dive seemed to do okay. And the first author that they recommended that is like Kristin Hannah was Jodi Picoult, or Picoult, depending on how you choose to pronounce her name. And I think that's a pretty good recommendation. Jodi Picoult's known for writing family sagas. She also, a lot of her books are based on she's covered a wide range of sort of social and family issues within her, in different novels. So I think that's a pretty good recommendation. Second person they recommended was Ellen Hildebrand, which I can see the connection. Ellen Hildebrand's known primarily for romance novels, but not sort of like Kristin Hannah. The third person they recommended was Anita Shreve, and Anita Shreve is known she's known as a novelist and also sort of family focused books. And there are probably more subtle connections between the authors than that, but sort of on top surface, it seems okay. And the fourth person that they recommended was Christina Baker Klein, and she's an author of literary fiction and historical fiction. So again, seems to connect with this particular book of Kristin Hannah's, and Kristin Hannah is an author. There you go, ladies. That's what Taste Dive turned up. I'm sorry they didn't have specific book recommendations, because when we've gotten them, sometimes they're pretty good.
I mean, even with authors, though, if that's, all you can come up with, it in a way opens up a ton of new worlds, because then you can maybe go, for example, Anne did a fabulous video where she also showed you how to use fantastic fiction. That's another resource that we've used. And that's a really good one to, if you know an author, to get a list of their books, and if any of their books are in series, which order to read them in. Which, it's not the only place that you can go for that information, but it's a really nice and concise one that we like to use. So maybe you can go there and see which of their books appeals to you most, because maybe, something that's not anywhere near topically to the Four Winds is thematically more similar, and therefore that's what you want to read. Maybe you don't want your family saga set in the Dust Bowl of Texas. So we leave Erica for last because NoveList normally gives back better recommendations. But as we've discovered, every single time I say this, Erica's like, this time they're only so okay. So I'm just gonna not, and we'll see what happens. Go ahead, Erica.
All right, so since it's a standalone book, we're not running into issues with any of the this series is like this series sort of thing, which is nice. So the first one starting off strong, we've got The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck, which, judging by the description of The Four Winds, it sounds like it's a pretty good recommendation. NoveList says that although Grapes of Wrath is a bit bleaker in tone, both of them are in the Dust Bowl era, and they deal with subsequent American migration with lyrical language and sympathetic characters. For those of you who don't know what The Grapes of Wrath is about, it's about a family traveling from Oklahoma to California during the Depression, and specifically dealing with the Dust Bowl and everything like that. And the next one is Promise by Minrose Gwin. So this one is about a tornado going through a Mississippi hometown in 1936, and an African-American laundress and her great-grandmother are searching for their family among the catastrophe survivors. And then while bonding with the traumatized teen daughter of a despised white judge. So a lot of racial tensions in the 30s and trying to find family. So looks like this one's similar because of the family bonds, which are tested by horrific natural disasters occurring during the Great Depression, with both of them lyrical writing again and engaging works of historical fiction. Next one we've got is The Victory Garden by Rhys Bowen. So this is another historical fiction. Looks like First World War, though, rather than the Dust Bowl, but it's tales of determined women struggling to survive on farms during these challenging times, as this is about a woman volunteering to tend the neglected grounds of a Devonshire estate, where she finds inspiration and support in an herbalist's long-forgotten journals. The next one is I Will Send Rain by Ray Meadows. And this is tenacious women fighting to survive the harsh conditions of the Dust Bowl era in Oklahoma and Texas. Oklahoma is I Will Send Rain, Texas is The Four Winds, and keep their families together in richly detailed historical novels. So it sounds like this one's also dealing with the Dust Bowl, 1934 in Oklahoma, and it's a family struggling against hardship. The last one is The Last Ballad by Wiley Cash, and this is actually inspired by actual events. It's a book that is dramatic and engaging. They both have the genre of historical fiction and the subjects of strikes, family relationships, and families, so it seems like a more family-focused one. Again, historical fiction. It's set in the Appalachian foothills of 1929 North Carolina. So it looks like this is more focused on labor rights rather than dealing with the Depression. It's a woman struggling to reclaim her dignity and rights in a labor mill. That's what I've got on my end. So for the most part, it gave pretty good descriptions as to why they're very similar. The last one just kind of gave the this tags are like this tags. But overall, it sounds pretty good.
I really like how with Erica's list, like we've circled kind of back around to what Olivia searched for, because she hit on the American dream. Erica kind of bringing us back towards America. One of, I think, the really interesting tags that Olivia showed us in the catalog was that The Four Winds has a tag that says American women farmers, which I think also crops up in Erica's as well. And so, you know, like we said, maybe you do want those very specific connections and you can make those with the catalog or with NoveList, or maybe you're just hoping for something a little bit more thematic, maybe, you know, what's popular with people who've read these authors. And that's where, I mean, mostly Anne can help you. Again, Overdrive is an adventure every time I click on that button. So thank you so much for hanging out with us. Hopefully one of these books is of interest to you, or it helped you find another book for you to read based on the last book that you liked, because the goal is always more books and more reading, and we are here to try to help out with that. So we will see you next time with a new book and a new resource. Until then, have a good one. Bye.